is a super red giant. I forget which constellation because my astronomy is a little hazy now. But I said, yeah, it's a star. It's a super big star. You can see it in the sky. It is a place. You mean you've never heard of Arcturus? And
I never won for astronomy or astrology, weirdly. But like, what I will say is, while I could in no way have made up the other stuff because I hadn't looked at anything related to any extraterrestrial, I did see the movie E.T., but other than that, I had no frame of reference for anything else extraterrestrial. It's very possible, right? I'm a geek. I'm an engineer. It's very possible that I heard the word Arcturus someplace along the way and it didn't register because, like, I wasn't interested, right? But it's very possible. So that's my one caveat, which is, like, maybe I knew this word from another time and place.
But I'm willing to believe that if she were really making up the one word Arcturus, that still leaves this whole rest of this experience that with her physical eyes,
have made up.
She's seeing these beings until they just kind of faded away, or they...
Right. Yeah, and then, eventually we sat there, we stared at each other some more, and then they just kind of faded out. And what I will say is, without going into the whole story, many years later, I met Clifford Stone. I don't know if you know who he is.
He's
okay.
I think he's a gentleman of humanity. Let me
just
say
lovely.
That.
And he had a painting that he had brought to our conference that he thought he brought for his talk, which he didn't use. And he went, "Oh, I must have brought it for you. This lady did it and she gave it to me." And he brought out a painting of the beings I had seen, only she had seen them in more detail than I had. So and he went, "Oh yeah, we call these type 2 grays." So, like, I absolutely didn't make that up, right? I mean, I'm not capable of making this stuff up anyway. I don't have that good an imagination. So,
it's
anyway.
True. But just the fact that someone like Clifford Stone, who, for those of the people out there that don't know his story, you know, he had a cover desk job while he was in the military, but his real job was to be kind of a first responder at a crash site of a UFO to do retrieval of bodies and equipment, I guess. So from what we understand, he even had a manual of all the different races. And imagine, they haven't told us anything about all this, right? All these years, but they're actually
57 of them were catalog.
Something like that. Yeah. So he was able to look at. He was able to look at a body, I guess, and go, "Oh, that's page 34. If it's breathing, you can do this, you can do that, or whatever." But things were so well developed. They actually had manuals of all these races. At the same time, they're telling the rest of us nothing exists, and you guys are freaking crazy. You know, get out of my space. You know. But that's the world he lived in, and so the fact that kind of randomly he has this painting that relates right to her story, and he's the guy that was keeper of this manual and who was on crash sites and did recover bodies. He helped one of them escape, if you know his story. Here he is, just out of the blue, validating her story with his credentials and with a painting. Like, wow.
Yeah.
That was great.
Couldn't make that up.
Yeah, that was great. We thank him.
You got confirmation from
also my friends, Arcturian friends.
Yeah, wherever. Yeah, I thank those guys because after Hollis asked me, after she told me the story and said, you know, is Arcturus a place? And I told her, yes, it is. Her reply was, next year, I'm coming with you. And I always add, cowboy, because I love that. Because I love that Bill Burry line. She didn't really say cowboy, but I pretend that she did. It makes me happy. It's so little. It takes so little. But she meant it. And year after year, we then started going on these expeditions. And now we've been hosting our own for the last 5 years in different places, making contact. So,
and we've had some cool contact.
And we've had lots of amazing contact. But you asked us for a specific incident. This one related to both of us. We figured that up there in Mount Shasta, with all the contact I was making during that week, they must have followed my energy signature, or my energy.
His thoughts, anyway.
My thoughts back to her, right? Because they show up in our bedroom, like, 15 feet from where we're sitting right now, So they must have followed that back, and they must have tuned into me and thought, wow, this human being is putting a lot of energy towards this other human being. We're very interested. What's at the other end of this rainbow? You know, and they went to the other end of the rainbow and said to her, so who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah, who are you? Very sweet. And that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
Love it. Well, it resonated with me, Hollis, because that was my first, how do I say it, experience, I guess, that was one of the first statements that I heard. It was just over and over, who are you? And
Really?
it was just in my head, but it wasn't, if it had been me, it would have been, who am I? That wasn't the case.
Right.
It was like a CD on replay. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And there were just other things going on too that seemed to that partnered with that were strange. So I definitely knew something was going on. But during the first interview that I'd heard y'all talking about it, and you go relaying that story, Hollis, it reminded me of something of my own. So definitely, and it's nice to have gotten, kind of an affirmation, if you will, or confirmation, whatever you want to call it, from Clifford Stone. And I love synchronicities, and that was just priceless that he would have a painting.
So what happened for you besides the who are you?
For me, like I had spent, like I was in a tough time. I was going through a tough time. So I didn't know what to do. So I decided, I was going to, and I'd always had an interest in things like UFOs or ESP. I'd go to the library to get out of the house, or, and I just found it fascinating. So I said, I've never tried it before. Let me just meditate and see if it helps. And so I can't say how much, I want to say at least a couple of hours, but yeah, in the course of a night, I just had like that determination that something had to change, that I was, something, I needed to do something to change my situation and what I was being told. Because, I mean, the planet's changed a lot, but I will say for me, without getting into it, what I was being told was I was wrong, and I was internalizing all of that. So I reached out for help because it seemed like I didn't have anyone else on my side with what I was going through. So for me, I don't know whether it was instinct or what have you, but at 15, I decided, I was going to stay up the night and I was going to sit, close my eyes, and meditate and see what it was. And there were, there were things that gave me, the idea. It was ESP. It was, cartoons like this Professor X and things like that. So I just wanted to, I didn't know much about, we'd grown up, I'd grown up Christian, obviously, but I wanted to ask the universe for help. And after a certain amount of time, and I was listening to music too, which was the other thing, because I had those negative thoughts in music, it had always helped me kind of reposition and get centered and just get me back to a good place. So once I stopped listening to music, it was just kind of a silence. I spent time in silence. And then it was like I'd walked into a cocktail party. I heard all these kind of, just mums, like voices having conversations. But one voice above everyone else said, "Who are you?" And then kept repeating it. So, and while that was happening, I started getting the sensation that there was a sphere, because I had, like I was in the lotus position with my fingers touching, but a sphere, like I got the sensation that there was a small sphere, or almost like a marble, that was going around one of my hands. Now I paid attention to I do pay attention to Grant Cameron, and he had and he interviewed a group this past December, or maybe it was in November. But there was a young lady had spoke about that experience, and that she had had the same thing. I don't remember her name. I'd love to interview her and get her take on it. But that was my experience. It was just that, those thoughts and what was going, what I was hearing, and then coupled with the sensation that, there was a sphere going around my hand. Those two right there, if it had been one or the other, I would have blown it off and not thought anything of it. But knowing that I had intentionally asked for help and that this was going on, I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what to name it. So, yeah, it was really odd to me. It really struck me when, because I had met Kosta already and it got my interest. So my ears, my awareness was there. But once, I was listening to the interview, it was like, okay, now this, Hollis, you're telling me, talking about your experience. So it was, it was just a great, affirmation for me that, hey, you weren't the only one. Other people have, gone through that. So I want to get into like right now, because you had said, has there been any other, like in terms of contact, Kosta, like face to face? Can you let us know what are some of the other modalities, other ways that contact can happen?
I'll tell you two stories, and then Hollis can add some of her own, because you've had some experiences that I haven't, because you're clairaudient and clairvoyant, so you've had capabilities that I usually don't have. One story was after a group meditation, again at Mount Shasta, on a drizzly, clouded over night outside. As we finished the meditation, Hollis, who's sitting next to me in the circle there, tugged on my sleeve and pointed straight up and said, "Look at that." And a circle, it had cleared. A circle had cleared above us. The rest of the sky was still clouded, but above this group of ours who were sitting in a circle, the sky had stars in it. It was black, and it was huge. And like I said, directly above the group.
And no wind.
And no wind, right. And other people have reported after meditation doing things like this meteorologically. And we've done it since. Yeah. Not deliberately, but it just happened. Well, in this case, we weren't doing that deliberately, but suddenly it was our first experience with it. Yeah. And there it was, and the group is going ooh and ah, and in the middle of that blackness of the sky with some stars there, was one that was sitting there and pulsing at us. And I'm looking at that going, oh my God, that's a craft, because we had learned to recognize the signature of power-ups and stuff in that context. In that same area, we noticed that a white wisp of, I guess, clouds started appearing out of the blackness of space. I mean, just like you would see like at a concert, dry ice, that they do for special effects, that comes up suddenly out of the blackness of space. Just stuff was coming up, and it was cloudish, and after a minute or two, we watched it, and it was moving around and getting bigger and bigger up there in that blackness.
And kind of agglomerating.
And agglomerating, yeah. And finally, Hollis says, "Look, it's formed a shape.
Look, it's a heart.
It's a heart." And sure enough, it was, this. Yeah. I don't do this so well, but it was that.
It was.
It was a huge cloud heart. And people are oohing and ahhing. I mean, there were like 40 or 50 of us. So
and somebody else yelled, "Look, it's a heart." So it wasn't just me going, "Look, it's a heart." No.
Someone else yelled that. And then another person yelled, "I just got a message from them above there. They told me that they love us." And he said that to the whole group out in the dark there. So that was profound. And that's one of the most dramatic stories. No, it wasn't a face-to-face, but talk about an acknowledgement to an entire group of people in a way that you can't say this was a mass hallucination or a conspiracy or whatever. This was just a nice contact. You can tell a story.
Okay, so last October in Joshua Tree, it was our last night, and it was like 11 o'clock, and everybody's kind of tired. We're kind of getting ready to go. We were like thinking, oh, maybe we should like pack it in a little early, Anyway, we're sitting there. So we're in a circle. There's maybe 15 of us because a couple of people had left. And so I'm looking up. Apparently, I was the only person who was looking up.
The rest of us
Everybody else was like looking at, they were like looking across the circle, but I'm like looking up, and I see this light in the sky, very high up and incredibly bright. Like when you look at the full moon, you know how bright that is? It was that bright, except it was much, much smaller. And I mean, at arm's length, it was bigger than a pinhead, but it was still quite small, maybe like 4 pinheads put together or something. It was still small, but it was incredibly bright and caught my attention, and it flashed 3 times at us. And now I see a lot of stuff that I think, well, maybe that's not it. And I don't speak up a lot actually in a circle, but this was so clear and so obvious. I was like, I'm going to have to say this one. And as I'm thinking that, the whole circle goes, oh my God, did you see that? And they're going, no, this thing that had flashed 3 times lit up the inside of our circle 3 times. Apparently, like just inside everybody's feet. Like exactly 3 times. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Well, I was one of the people there, obviously, since she was the only one looking up. And I'm looking across, but what I saw on the ground, like Hollis said, on the inner part of the circle, it didn't light up any of us. It was so precise. It just was the inner diameter of our circle. What I saw was a strobe, flash, flash, flash.
Yeah, and that's what it
real
did.
Bright. Like there's no light there on the ground. This is dark sand or dirt, and it just flashed 3 times, and everyone's going, ooh, right? And she goes, ooh.
Yeah.
So those 2 were connected, and that was them. We're glad you're amused, I guess. But it was
really cool.
It was really cool, and it's not uncommon on the last night of any retreat that we do that we see or have something dramatic happen. Yeah. Not at all, and it like at the last hour. I mean, there's like a signature of them. They wait, and there's always something. Am I right? Yeah. Last year at Joshua Tree in the California desert, that particular thing was there. That flash was there, and you cannot make that up. That was not a satellite. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't people with lanterns up there. I don't know what. No. People will try to explain these things away in so many ways, but this, like I said, was so precise. The inner diameter of our circle and a strobe while it's up there. Strobing, and then because we were waiting for her to. We were able to make the association. Just one of our group saw that up there. We didn't, because we saw what was on the ground, and we were able to put all that together. What a group experience.
Yeah.
So, and I there is a spirituality aspect. I gotta, absolutely understand that. But I have to ask, do you think as a culture, or during CE5, whether it's here, and I do want to get to your outings, the outings that you both host, that you all host, in a minute. But when it comes to face-to-face contact, is that a possibility?
Well, I mean, it happened to me, so why wouldn't it be a possibility? Also, another time, without going into the whole story, a being showed up on the ground that 4 or 5 of us could feel. We couldn't see it, and it merged with one of the women who was there briefly. Mm-hmm. And she was describing all the sensations as it happened, and the rest of us could feel the energy field with our hands. So, I mean, absolutely, they're there.
And there was another time, and we have a picture of this. I may publish it sometime, of an ET on the ground near us, between Hollis and me.
Oh yeah.
Again at Shasta, and there's a long backstory, but again in a group circle. And this time there was a camera that was in the middle of the circle that was recording different things, still camera, and there were motion cameras too. Hollis, as usual, sitting next to me in the circle. And we had been told to expect a visitation. Again, it's a long story, but we had an ET that was connected to us and to a friend who had flashed his StarCraft at us previous times on schedule when we were told that he would. He's a captain of a ship there. And he did show up in the sky. This particular night, we were told he's going to show up. Well, silly us, we were always looking
at the sky.
Yeah, and we saw other things, but we didn't see his signature move. So as the night is coming to an end and we're in the circle finishing a meditation, I'm thinking, I'm disappointed, didn't see him. And then the person who's running the camera in the middle of the circle, and apparently the camera was pointing in our direction at Hollis and me. And this was pitch dark too, by the way. There were no lights out there.
There was nothing.
There was nothing. But the person yells out, "Oh my God, look there," between Hollis and Kosta. And I whip my head around and over and look at her. I don't see anything.
Don't see it.
We don't see a thing.
It.
But this person's excited and goes, "Oh my God," and everyone's getting up out of their seats. And again, long story short, we go to the camera and it's got a little viewfinder, the kind that flips out. The camera's on a tripod. It's pointing at us. And the viewfinder is, I'm trying to get this right on camera here.
Don't worry about it.
We all line up and we look in the viewfinder, which is pointing to where we were just sitting at our chairs. And we see this very colorful being, a real figure, not a little smudge on the lens. This has got form, it's got shape, it's got color, it's got a torso. In the viewfinder.
With a jacket, yeah.
With a jacket, very Natalie dressed,
yeah.
Snappy dress. And I really mean that.
Yeah.
I should have such great fashion sense.
You never know.
She's going, there's hope in another life for this guy. But here's the thing. We're looking at the viewfinder, and every person who came in line could see this being there. It was a still picture, but there it is. But yet, if you raise your eye just a couple inches above the viewfinder to look at the actual spot, not at the viewfinder, there's nothing but black there.
Nothing.
You could only see the image in the viewfinder. Well, the picture was captured by the person who had the camera. It was sent to me. I've got it, and I may publish it sometime. I've been told it's okay. I do believe. But that's another dramatic story. Now, was it a hologram or was it the actual being kind of beaming in? We don't know, but there was some energy there, and it was like, again, not something amorphous. It was a being. It was bipedal, dressed well, and we all had a great time. Like I say, everybody in the group saw that as we lined up, because why wouldn't you line up for something like...
Yeah, because he's taking a picture, so we could get up and go look and like, oh my God, really?
Yeah, well, in real time, the camera was still pointing at the spot, so the being was still there while everyone took their turns looking at the viewfinder. And anyway, that's pretty dramatic. That was a visitation, and it turned out to be our friend who was supposed to show up, only he tricked us. Instead of coming in his ship, he decided to make it really personal. And the fact that he appeared between Hollis and me clearly meant, and we validated this later, that this was meant for us to be kind of the trigger, that it was part of our expectation. This was meant for us and became a group experience after that. So that was pretty cool.
Was it the same kind?
Oh, no. Oh, no. No. This was very human looking. I mean, let's just say. Yeah.
Except for the headgear or whatever.
Whatever. I mean, and you could only see the being from kind of like the waist up or the chest up. So it wasn't like, I mean, I don't know for a fact it was bipedal, but anyway, no, nothing like the Arcturian folks.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. In fact, the clothing looked like he was wearing a vest and a jacket.
From like the 18th century.
From like the 18th century, very cool and very colorful. I mean, this wasn't just like a blob of white.
Yeah.
There were blues, some oranges. There was form. I mean, you could
Yeah.
clearly see he's wearing something. There's headgear there, and we were told later by our friend who was the intermediary. Yes, he did show up for you. Surprise, you know.
So with that allows me the opportunity to ask you. I wanted to get an update on the retreats, Costa, because I know there were 3 that you had scheduled, and yeah, I just want to give you, because I know we're a little bit over schedule, but still I'm enjoying this and it's great. I want to get information on ET Let's Talk, and then Hollis, if you have a website as well where you do your readings. But yeah, before any of that, yeah, what's going on with the retreats, and can you let us know?
Oh, well, yeah, we have 3 every year in Mount Shasta, Northern California, in the heart of the Midwest, in Bloomington, Indiana, the home of the main campus of Indiana University. I'm from Indiana, and I graduated from that campus. And we have a CE5 member who's got property there that allows us to host a group for a few years. And in the Southern California desert at Joshua Tree, California, known to many people for different things. This year, well, 2 things. The retreat dates, there's 6 days and 6 nights. We get a group together, we have fun, we make new friends, we get to enjoy the area. I organize them so that there's a lot of downtime where you're not just running, doing something, but there's time to explore the area and enjoy yourself and relax. It's a retreat, it's not an assault. So, you know, and we do the contact every night, and we have group sessions in the afternoon. Hollis teaches their
Basically psychic development.
Psychic development that enhances your connection with our star friends. And we also do group sharing of stories and talk about what we saw the previous night. So it's a great cohesive group experience. Shasta is from June 14th this year for 6 days and 6 nights. The Bloomington, Indiana one is from September 13th for 6 days and 6 nights, and followed in October from the 11th for 6 days and 6 nights in Joshua Tree. Having said all that, because of the current crisis situation with shelter in place in many places, not the least of which is California, we don't know which of those retreats will happen. I'm taking registrations nonetheless so that I can know of people's interest, because for all we know, tomorrow they could lift the restrictions or extend them. It's just a big unknown. They're very affordable. They're a fraction of the cost of other similar ones like this. And I'll keep people up to date as we're told. Again, if it's all about the restrictions and what happens with this virus and this crisis situation. We look forward to these every year. So we'll be disappointed if we can't do it, but I still encourage people who are interested in any of them to go to etletstalk.com/retreats, and you can just register to there. Just take your name and email, and then I know about you and can keep you up to date with the mailing list. So I encourage people to come.
Excellent. So I'm just going to do a screen share here, give you an idea of the website. So we have you have People's Disclosure Movement, the CE5, ET Let's Talk, and then you also post the good news.
Oh yeah, I'll talk about the good news. If you want to put in the URL after etletstalk.com, you can put a /retreats, and it'll take you right to the registration page. At least I hope it does. I will be embarrassed if we get a 404.
Yay, it worked.
All right. There we go. Mount Shasta, Bloomington, Joshua Tree.
And we have, there's a sample group there. We keep our groups small. We've had 50 people before, but it's often about 24-ish, which allows people enough of a time during the week to get to know each other really well and form friendships. This video you see right there is from Joshua Tree of a couple years ago, where 2 starcraft circled each other in the sky and then hovered there and signaled to us with multiple lights shining up. And I put it on there because it's, you know, it's a nice little showcase for what can happen. And there's that video. I encourage people to click on that. Thank you for showing that.
Oh, my pleasure. And how do Hollis? How do people reach you if for readings or things of that nature?
Okay. So fortunately, my website was hacked, and my webmaster seems to have, you know, gone walkabout. So I don't have a website right now. There are 2 things you can do. You can send an email to Kosta, who will send it to me, or friend me on Facebook, but then also send me a private message, because if I don't know you, I'm not actually going to accept your friend request. So send me a private message saying I'm interested in a reading, and probably I will call you back. What I will say is my phone number is area code 650. I'm not giving it out here because God knows that could get hacked. So anyway, so Facebook or through Kosta, basically.
And who are you on Facebook?
Oh, Hollis Polk, Hollis Polk.
And if people want to write to me for any reason, but in order to get in touch with Hollis, you can just do Kosta, Kosta, at etletstalk.com. And I will forward your interest to Hollis. I know you have a phone number, but are you the 800? Is that
you know, I need to
operational?
empty out the voicemail box.
Okay, if that's not up.
Sorry.
We'll leave it with the Facebook and or you know, and then that way you can screen through them. And
Hollis is too modest about what she does, but she's done, and she'll correct me here, I'm sure, more than 7,000 psychic readings in her 30-year career. And she does not advertise much.
Not at all. I don't even have a website anymore.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So it's really word of mouth, and that's the highest compliment people can give you. You know, they come back to her and say, "Boy, what you told me would happen, what your guide said, just happened. Could I send my son to you, my partner, my whatever, for a reading?" And so that's the highest compliment, is when someone trusts a loved one in their life to you. Because they think that you've been really helpful to them. And that's how she's operated for all that time. And she's also able to contact our star friends far more easier than I can through her talents. And that helps the ET Let's Talk mission too, because we can get instructions and get feedback on things that I'm always full of questions. So I'm always saying, "Hollis, can we talk?" And
I get into trance.
She gets into trance, and we have a conversation, and I ask questions and get some guidance and things like that. Now, having said that, I'm a little bit clairaudient myself, so and I will get synchronicities. You were mentioning that, how you love that, Kenny, when they happen. So when I have questions, the universe, I guess, finds it easier to speak to me through getting an answer through a synchronicity. And there's too many of them to tell stories right now, but they happen. And I also get some inner guidance with my clairaudience. And some of that is ET as well. So we have an interesting household. I won't say it's paranormal because it's
normal.
But there's a pair of you.
Good one.
I like that.
We are
We're a paranormal. We're going to steal that.
Yeah,
Kenny.
we are. That was good.
Thank you in advance for letting us steal that from you.
No worries. So maybe a couple last questions. I wanted to get feedback on whether or not, what your thoughts are on CE5 personal, individual, as an individual versus group. And yeah, just maybe some thoughts on that. If you have any feedback, what do you think?
Okay, so oh boy, this is a little complicated. First of all, if you have ever had contact before, you're still connected to those folks, and you can go out and make your own contact easily enough. And there are plenty of people who had contact as kids, for example. Like, it's amazing to me the number of people that we come in contact with who go, oh yeah, when I was a little kid, ugh. Like those folks are still around. Okay. Now, if you've never had contact, you're probably going to have better luck in a group until you have contact. And also, in a way, you're going to have better chances in a group just because there are more people with more contacts. So,
yeah, what I like to say is, like, for example, the example we gave about the strobing that happened in our group, because we were in a group, there's enough members whose eyes are usually on the sky in all these different directions. You get a 360-degree view, rather than if you're alone, you're looking in one place and your head's swiveling a lot. You just don't have that kind of coverage. So from a practical point of view, a group is better. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it alone. Go solo, because a lot of people can't find a group. I mean, give it a try and they'll find you. But a group experience is even more fun. It's like
more
validation, and the skills that I have, the person next to me may not have, but they'll have another skill. Not just a set of eyes looking another direction, but she may be more psychic and clairaudient. She'll hear something that I didn't hear and report it to the group. And the person next to her will see colors or energy forms of something in our circle that other people aren't seeing. So my God, by the time you can get people to start talking about using their individual talents and what they're experiencing, you get a whole story, a whole narrative of a lot of things going on rather than just what you're seeing. So it's really a richer experience in a group that's cohesive and working together well. But again, we encourage people to try it alone. If that's what you've got, then go with it.
Very cool. So I think I'm gonna close on this. For both of you, what would you say to humanity? And I'm gonna pair that. What would you say to any ETs?
About what?
Let's just say, if they, for anyone that may run across this video, but I really want to pair those two questions. What would you say to humanity in terms of general message, and what would you say to, likewise, what would you say to ETs?
Okay, go ahead.
One word: love.
Yeah, love will get us through. Well, I have a few more words, being very short on words that I am not. What she said is true. This is really about connection, whether we're saying it to humanity, love each other. We've been told by our star friends, and we can only speak of the races that we've contacted, that they have love for us. So yeah, it is about love. What I'll add to in talking to humanity right now is, like, hang on. We're in a tough time right now, but crisis is also opportunity. And the opportunity is to sit back right now and reflect, while we are forced to have time to do that, on what kind of world we want. The best way to predict the future is to create it. So if you look online now, and you will see people starting to cooperate in so many ways, not only helping the health crisis, they're helping their neighbors, but sitting back and going, oh my God, I have time now to do this. I need to get my neighbors together to solve this problem or that, or provide company. People are really coming together. Good News Every Day is a Facebook group that we started that features good news of humans getting along. So I would tell the humans watching this, go to Facebook, go to Good News Every Day, 5 words or whatever. Good news every 4 words. Look up the group and join, and you will see what the mass media really doesn't show you. You will see a parade of stories, from all over the world, from all different areas, of people cooperating, getting along, helping each other, innovating, testing new things, inventing new things to make life better for ourselves, to build a global society, for our animal friends, for our environment, for all the good stuff. So we're at a time right now when we can be that good news and feed ourselves with the good news that we and other groups are featuring on social media to feed us, because mass media is feeding us fear and separation. I won't get into politics and the people that are separating us, but they know who they are. Our story is different. This is the time to be coming together, and we are that tidal wave now that we need to be surfing, which is leading us into the new world. And I would say to our star friends, thank you for sticking by us for so long and being patient and answering our calls to communicate and bring it on. We want more. We want to dance with you. And we promise we'll try to get along so that it's safe for you to come here. And so we can, start a great new relationship. So again, yeah, thank you. Keep it coming. And we'll do our part. Thank you for the partnership, because that's what we are now with you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kenny.
So, wow. Yeah, we spent more time than what I'd hoped for. So,
Yeah. More time than we expected.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
For that, for everything, both of you. Is there, if there isn't anything else, Kosta, I can't thank you enough, seriously, for the guidance and feedback that you've provided for us. And,
it's a two-way street. Thank you for showing up. I keep telling people there'd be nothing to facilitate or organize if people didn't show up. So it's not just me doing something, it's people showing up and doing something together. So you are that. Thank yourself, really, for hearing the need of humanity at this time, because that's what your heart's responding to at some level. There's a great need to be of service on a world stage right now, and you're doing your part, as we are, to expand minds, to tell people there is a positive future, and to give some inspiration and hope to people. So you thank you. You're doing your part too, and you're going to inspire other people.
I hope so.